The heavy plastic keycard my mother handed me on the sun deck of the luxury cruise ship didn't have my name on it. Instead, printed clearly beneath the cabin number, were the words companion/nanny. In one smooth, calculated motion, she had taken the $15,000 penthouse suite I had spent 2 years working night shifts to pay for, handed it to my golden child brother, and banished me to a windowless basement room to act as his unpaid babysitter. "It just made the most logistical sense, sweetie," my mother Eleanor said, effortlessly adjusting her oversized designer sunglasses. She smelled of expensive sunscreen and sea salt, blending perfectly with the warm ocean breeze and the cheerful clinking of champagne glasses around us. "The penthouse only has 2 main bedrooms. Your father and I took the master, and Julian needs the other one for him and Chloe." I stared at the white plastic card resting in my palm. Deck 2, room 204. I knew exactly where that was because I had obsessed over the ship's blueprints for months before booking this 40th anniversary family trip. Deck 2 was below the waterline. It was the crew overflow and utility deck. "I paid for the penthouse, Mom," I said, my voice barely audible over the upbeat sound of a steel drum band playing near the infinity pool. "I paid for the entire suite package. The booking included the attached luxury guest room for me." "Well, yes," she waved a manicured hand dismissively, her diamond rings catching the brilliant Caribbean sun. "But Julian's twins need somewhere to sleep, and the adjoining room is perfect for them. Plus, you know Chloe gets terrible seasickness if she doesn't have access to a private balcony to get fresh air." As if on cue, my older brother Julian strolled up to us. He was wearing a crisp linen shirt, holding 2 artisan cocktails he'd just grabbed from the open bar, a premium beverage package I had also funded. He hadn't reached for his wallet a single time since we arrived at the port terminal. "Deck 12 is absolutely incredible, Harp," Julian said, taking a relaxed sip of his drink. He didn't say thank you. He never said thank you. "Chloe is already booking our specialty dinner reservations. We're thinking the steakhouse tonight, then hitting the VIP casino." I looked at him, taking in his unbothered smile, and then looked back at my mother. If the twins are in the attached room and Julian is at the casino, who is watching the kids? My mother offered a smile that was so painfully practical, it felt like a physical strike. "That's why we moved you to deck 2, honey. It's perfectly quiet down there. You can just bring the kids down to your cabin after dinner so they don't disturb our evening. Julian and Chloe haven't had a proper trip without the twins since they were born. They really need this time to unwind and reconnect." I didn't blink. I just looked down at the card. Companion/nanny. That wasn't an administrative typo. That was a manually entered designation required by the cruise line for childcare staff, so they could bypass certain passenger restrictions. My mother had actually called the cruise line behind my back, overridden the reservation using her name as the primary guest, and officially reclassified me as an employee. "You're an ER nurse, Harper," my mother added, patting my arm as if delivering a compliment. "You're already used to being awake all night. The kids might be fussy in a new environment, but you're so good at running on absolutely no sleep. It really won't feel any different from your normal hospital routine." You're used to being awake all night. For 24 agonizing months, I had picked up every grueling, understaffed midnight shift in the emergency room. I had held the hands of terrified patients, pushed through 14-hour shifts on pure adrenaline, and eaten cold vending machine sandwiches at 3 a.m. I skipped vacations, dinners out, and buying new clothes. I did it because my parents had always talked about taking the Grand Caribbean anniversary cruise. I did it because I wanted, just once, to be the daughter who gave them the world. I wanted to sit at the dinner table with them, raise a glass, and finally be seen as an equal. Instead, they took the world I bought them and handed me a basement key so my brother could drink on a balcony. "Right," I whispered. My throat felt tight, suddenly filled with a sharp, suffocating clarity. Logistical sense. "Exactly," my mother beamed, completely missing the absolute hollow tone in my voice. "Now, go on and drop your bags downstairs. We'll text you when we need you to come up and grab the twins." She turned away to join Julian, both of them walking toward the glass VIP elevator bank, laughing about the casino limits. They didn't look back, not even once. I stood alone on the crowded sun deck, holding a piece of plastic that told me exactly what I was worth to them. I walked away from the sun deck, the cheerful rhythm of the steel drums fading as I stepped into the interior stairwell. I couldn't use the glass VIP elevators overlooking the ocean atrium. Those didn't go down to deck 2. I had to use the service stairs. With every flight I descended, the air grew heavier and colder. The plush, patterned carpets of the upper passenger decks were eventually replaced by gray, scuffed industrial linoleum. When I swiped the plastic companion/nanny card against the lock of room 204, the light flickered on with a harsh fluorescent buzz. The cabin was roughly the size of a walk-in closet. There were 2 narrow bunk beds bolted to the metal wall, a single foldable chair, and absolutely no windows. The walls were constantly humming, a deep, bone-rattling vibration radiating from the ship's massive engines located just a few corridors away. The air smelled faintly of ozone, engine grease, and stale laundry detergent. I stood in the center of the cramped space, my hand still gripping the handle of my suitcase. $15,000. I closed my eyes and let the number echo in the vibrating room. $15,000 wasn't just a figure on a credit card statement. It was a physical weight. I had paid for the Platinum Voyager package. That meant priority boarding, unlimited premium dining, access to the private thermal spa, and an exclusive viewing deck. I had paid for the artisan cocktails Julian was currently drinking and the chilled champagne my mother was sipping. And yet, I was standing in a room that vibrated so violently my teeth chattered, holding a keycard that officially erased my identity as their daughter. It was the breathtaking audacity of it all that paralyzed me. I thought of the agonizing cost of this trip. It wasn't just money. It was the relentless ache in my lower back after standing for 12 hours straight in the trauma ward. It was the smell of sterile gloves and medical antiseptic that never quite washed off my skin. It was missing my best friend's wedding because I had picked up a holiday shift for the double pay. It was eating instant ramen in my dark kitchen at 4 a.m., telling myself that the sheer bone-deep exhaustion would all be worth it when my parents finally looked at me with the same beaming pride they reserved for Julian. I opened my eyes and looked at the thin, scratchy blanket folded neatly on the bottom bunk. They didn't see my sacrifice. They only saw an opportunity. Julian didn't look at the luxury suite and think of my aching feet. He just saw a free premium bar. My mother didn't look at the tickets and see an act of unconditional love. She saw a brilliant loophole for free childcare so her favorite son wouldn't be burdened by his own children. I had spent my entire adult life trying to buy a seat at their table. I believed that if I just gave enough, worked hard enough, and made myself incredibly useful, I would eventually graduate from the quiet middle child to a valued, respected member of the family. But standing in that windowless steel box, the devastating truth finally settled over me. You cannot buy respect from people who have already priced you at zero. I didn't cry. For the first time in 33 years, the overwhelming urge to weep, to beg for their approval, was completely gone. In its place was a sharp, brilliant silence. It was the kind of absolute calm that precedes a massive storm. I looked at my reflection in the small, scratched mirror bolted above the stainless steel sink. I didn't look like a nanny. I looked like a woman who was holding the primary credit card keeping the lights on in Julian's penthouse. I didn't unpack my suitcase. I didn't sit down on the narrow bunk. I turned around, walked back out into the dreary gray hallway, and pulled the heavy metal door shut behind me. The ship was scheduled to sound its horn and set sail in exactly 90 minutes. That gave me more than enough time to pay a visit to the main concierge desk. The grand atrium on Deck 5 was a masterpiece of ocean liner excess. 3 stories of sweeping glass staircases, crystal chandeliers that caught the afternoon sunlight, and a string quartet playing soft classical music in the center of the lobby. It was a space designed to make you feel wealthy, important, and completely insulated from the real world. I walked straight past the champagne welcome desk and approached the guest services concierge. A young man in a crisp white uniform with gold epaulettes looked up from his monitor. His name tag read Marcus. He offered a polished, rehearsed smile. "Welcome aboard, miss. How can I assist you today?" I didn't return the smile. I reached into my purse, pulled out my driver's license, and the heavy metal Chase Sapphire credit card I had used to book the trip, and placed them flat on the marble counter. "My name is Harper Evans," I said, my voice as calm and steady as if I were calling out vitals in the emergency room. "I need to make a complete financial modification to reservation 884-Alpha. Marcus typed the alphanumeric code into his keyboard. His eyes scanned the screen, and his professional smile faltered for a fraction of a second. "Ah, yes, the Grand Penthouse Suite. I see the reservation here, Ms. Evans. However, I notice you are currently coded in the system as the nanny/companion for the secondary attached cabin. The primary guest listed is Eleanor Evans." "My mother overrode the guest manifest over the phone to change my room assignment," I explained, keeping my tone perfectly conversational. "But if you look at the billing folio, you will see that every single dollar attached to this reservation, the suite, the Platinum Voyager packages, the premium drink limits, and the prepaid gratuities, was authorized and paid for by the card currently sitting in front of you." Marcus clicked his mouse a few times. His eyes widened slightly. "Yes, ma'am, that is correct. You are the sole financial guarantor for the entire party. What kind of modification did you want to make?" "I am withdrawing all financial authorization," I said. Marcus stopped typing. He looked up at me, blinking in confusion. "I'm sorry, I want to make sure I understand. You want to downgrade a package?" "No, Marcus. I want you to completely remove my credit card from the reservation. I am canceling my payment for the Penthouse. I am canceling the Platinum dining and beverage packages for Julian and Chloe Evans. I am canceling the spa access for Eleanor Evans. Remove my card from the folio entirely, effective immediately." The string quartet continued to play a cheerful waltz behind me, starkly contrasting the absolute gravity of the transaction happening at the counter. Marcus leaned in, lowering his voice out of professional discretion. "Ms. Evans, the Penthouse suite alone is $15,000. The VIP packages add another $4,000. If I remove your authorization, the system will immediately freeze their onboard accounts. Because the ship has not set sail yet, they will be required to provide a new payment method at the Platinum desk to cover the $19,000 balance." "And if they can't?" I asked quietly. "Then their boarding passes will be invalidated," Marcus said, his tone turning serious. "Ship security will ask them to pack their bags and disembark before we leave the port in 60 minutes. Are you absolutely certain you want to do this?" I have never been more certain of anything in my entire life. For the first time since I stepped up to the counter, Marcus gave me a look of genuine, unfiltered human empathy. He didn't ask questions. He didn't tell me to think it over. He simply nodded, his fingers flying across the keyboard. I listened to the sharp, satisfying clicks of the keys. With every keystroke, a heavy, suffocating chain that had bound me to my family for over 3 decades was severed. I wasn't just taking my money back. I was taking my dignity back. I was pulling the financial rug out from under the grand illusion my mother had built. "Authorization revoked," Marcus confirmed softly. The receipt printer whirred to life, spitting out a long strip of paper. "I need your signature here, acknowledging the withdrawal of funds and the cancellation of your personal boarding pass." I picked up the complimentary pen and signed my name with a fluid, confident stroke. I slid the paper back to him, picked up my credit card, and dropped it into my purse. "The system has just sent an automated red alert message to the primary guest's phone," Marcus noted, glancing at his screen. "They are being summoned to the security desk." "Thank you, Marcus," I said. I turned away from the concierge desk, adjusting the strap of my bag on my shoulder. I had 45 minutes to walk down the gangway and get off the ship before they pulled up the ramp. I took a deep breath of the air-conditioned lobby air. It tasted like absolute freedom. I took the main glass elevator down to Deck 3, where the massive embarkation doors were still open to the port terminal. Through the glass, I could see the sun reflecting off the ocean and the metal gangway ramp connecting the ship to the mainland. I gripped the handle of my suitcase, the wheels gliding smoothly over the polished floor. I was 10 feet away from the exit when I heard my name. "Harper! Harper, stop right there!" I paused and turned around. My mother and Julian were practically sprinting through the atrium lobby. The effortless, breezy vacation personas they had worn on the sun deck were completely gone. My mother's designer sunglasses were pushed up into her hair, her face flushed and tight with panic. Julian was gripping his smartphone so hard his knuckles were white. Trailing a few steps behind them was a uniformed ship security officer holding a clipboard. "What did you do?" my mother hissed, grabbing my arm the moment she reached me. I calmly looked down at her hand until she let it go. "My phone just got an alert that our boarding passes are suspended." Julian went to order a drink, and the bartender told him his account is frozen. "It's not frozen, Mom," I said, my voice perfectly level. "It's just unfunded." Julian stepped forward, his jaw tight. "The concierge said you pulled your credit card off the folio. Put it back, Harper. Security is telling us we owe $19,000 right now, or we have to pack our bags and get off the ship. Stop throwing a tantrum and fix this." He wasn't asking. He was commanding me, the same way he had commanded me to do his chores when we were kids, the same way he expected me to effortlessly cover his premium bar tab today. "I can't fix it, Julian," I replied, looking him dead in the eye. "I'm just the nanny. Nannies don't pay for penthouse suites." My mother's mouth opened, but no sound came out. The blood drained from her face as the reality of my words hit her. She looked at the small plastic companion/nanny keycard I had placed neatly on a nearby lobby table before walking toward the exit. "Harper, please," she stammered, her voice suddenly dropping its authoritative edge, pitching into desperate bargaining. "You can't do this. It's our 40th anniversary. We've been looking forward to this for a year. You can't just leave us stranded here with a massive bill we can't pay." "You weren't stranded," I said quietly. "You had a daughter who worked herself to the bone for 2 years to give you the trip of a lifetime. A daughter who just wanted to sit on the balcony with you and celebrate as a family. But you didn't want a daughter. You wanted a sponsor. And you wanted free childcare." "That's not true," she cried, glancing nervously at the security officer who was politely waiting a few feet away. "We just thought—" "You thought I would absorb it," I interrupted softly. "You thought you could label me a servant, push me into the basement, and I would just swallow it because I always do. But I'm done being the quiet middle child." "Harper, be reasonable," Julian barked, pointing a finger at me. "I don't have that kind of limit on my cards right now. If you walk off this ship, they're going to kick us off. Chloe is upstairs getting the twins settled." "Then I suggest you tell her to start repacking," I said. Above us, the ship's massive horn blew a deep, echoing blast, signaling the final 30 minutes until departure. I turned my back on them. I didn't wait to hear Julian's curses or my mother's sobbing. I didn't look back as the security officer stepped forward to escort them to the payment desk. I walked through the sliding glass doors, onto the metal gangway, and out into the warm, golden afternoon sun. With every step away from that ship, the weight I had carried my entire life grew lighter. I had withdrawn $15,000, but I had bought something infinitely more valuable: my self-respect. This is 1989. Revenge stories. Have you ever exhausted yourself trying to buy the love of people who only saw you as a resource? How did you finally cut the cord and walk away? Share your story in the comments below. I read every single one. Remember, you can't buy respect from people who have priced you at zero. Hit subscribe for more stories of justice, and I will see you next time.